Long have we waited for this day. The day the ice would reclaim the earth and the meta. A new structure reshapes the landscape. And the ice barrier is ready to dominate. We have journeyed far to find the perfect formula, and we have spent countless hours to master its secrets. Well, at the very least, it's playable now. I'm going to start this video off with a little icebreaker. What are some of the worst floodgates in Yu-Gi-Oh? Now, for me at least, the first thing that comes to mind are the main deck ice barrier monsters. Historically, the deck was an unplayable flock of floodgates with one fantastic searcher. The deck struggles to even make their own, admittedly incredibly powerful synchro monsters, since their only extender locked you out of summoning higher level monsters for the entire turn. These days, however, are over. Somehow Ice Barriers, of all things, managed to win the 2020 Structure Deck poll, beating out Cyberstyle, Gusto, and Trickstar. Wait, they beat Trickstar? And Karibo was in that poll. Okay, fine. The Structure Deck is packed with all new support that allows the deck to function well for the first time in its 12 years of existence. For some reason, there are over 40 Ice Barrier cards currently in the game, so I will not be talking about most of them here. If there's an Ice Barrier card you think I missed, keep it to yourself and let that hatred simmer. Embrace it. Harness it. Normal summon Alistair. Despite being a synchro deck, Ice Barriers are not lacking in main deck bosses. They are, however, lacking in good main deck bosses. While most of their effects aren't the worst, they simply aren't accessible enough and don't do enough to warrant using them over other options most of the time. General Ryo is a card with a genuinely scary effect, forcing your opponent to discard a card to activate any monster effects on field. Medium can special summon itself from the hand if your opponent controls 4 or more cards than you do, and locks them into only 1 spell or trap activation per turn while it's on the field. So it can function as a good going second option to force out interaction from back row heavy decks. Royal Knight of the Ice Barrier is just a bad card. The structure deck support for the deck is incredibly solid, the worst card of the bunch probably being Terror of Trishula, as it requires you to control a good number of Ice Barrier synchros to do much of anything. General Wayne. Wait, Wayne? Oh, it's just the X-Saber guy again. Whatever, fine. General Wayne allows you to search for an Ice Barrier spell or trap, there are no Ice Barrier traps, on summon, which gets you access to most things in the deck. Wayne can also summon itself if your opponent controls a monster and you control an Ice Barrier. Zoijin is a duty level 2 monster that will tribute itself to summon a level 5 or higher from the hand. It also acts as a recursive body from the graveyard while manipulating levels. Revealer of the Ice Barrier acts as the deck's starter, letting you discard a card to summon any Ice Barrier tuner from deck. Speaker is one of the deck's few extenders, specialing itself if you control an Ice Barrier monster, and you can banish it from the graveyard to summon a level 1 token. Hex Spirit's a level 1 tuner that can foolish level 3 or lower Ice Barrier monster from deck to change its level to match the sent cards. This sets up both Prior and Zoijin for later plays. The new spell cards, Winds over the Ice Barrier and Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier, let the deck play through some interruption and give Wayne great targets to grab from deck. Winds allows you to tribute any number of Ice Barrier monsters to summon the same number of level 4 or lower barriers from deck. Freezing Chains reborns a level 4 or lower Ice Barrier on activation, and makes all Ice Barrier monsters you control unaffected by the effects of your opponent's monster special summoned from the extra deck. Well, as long as you control 3 or more Ice Barriers. The new Trishula retrain is a level 11 synchro that banishes 3 on field when summoned, and floats into normal Trishula when it's destroyed by your opponent. It also negates the effects of all monsters your opponent controls while bringing back the Trish. The general going first play for the deck attempts to summon Toad, Hulk, and Crystron Citri with an additional monster that has levels for synchro summoning on the opponent's turn. This board has 1 Omni-Negate and Toad and can synchro summon to any number of powerful interruptions, like either of the 2 Trishes, or even a Crystron boss. Satellite Warrior, White or Whale, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, Adamancipator Risen, Dragite, Powered Insectron, Borreload Savage Dragon, Blood Rose Dragon, and many more. So here we are going first against some sort of Eldritch variant. We're going to go ahead and lead off with this Pot of Prosperity, banishing 3 to go 1, 2, 3. 3. We're going to find Revealer for the top, normal summon a Revealer, activate effect to pitch this Wayne to summon a Spirit from next. Spirit's going to go ahead and send a Prior, and we're going to go ahead and summon this Miko, go into Shark, and then go into Toad. Now we're going to go ahead and activate this Miko in Graveyard to get a level 1 token, link the token and Shark into Coral Anemone, and then he's going to bring back this Prio. Prio's going to summon back Wayne. Wayne's going to give us access to Clear Winds. Now Clear Winds is going to let us tribute our entire board, summon 2 more from deck. Now we get Strategist and Spirit here, but because we used Prosperity earlier in the turn, the Strategist effect can't resolve, so we're going to summon Hulk, summon Citri, and then pass back to them. They activate Cursed Eldland, which means they're on some sort of Eldritch variant, so that means we probably want to go into Crystron Phoenix here. I'm thinking they're going to force our Hulk activation by targeting it with Eldritch. We're going to go into Shooting Riser, sending level 4. It's level 3 now, so we should be able to go into any level 9. Skullmeister is going to stop this Eldland. And then we're going to Citri here. They're going to chain Forbidden Droplets, needing our Citri and our Toad. And this is an issue, so we have to go into Crystron Corian Gandrax here just to remove that Eldritch from circulation. That's the only thing we can do since our Citri was turned off. They pass back to us. We draw Clear Winds for turn. We're going to go ahead and activate the Clear Winds already in the graveyard to add back this Prio. They chain Ice Dragon. We have to use the Toad here because it's also an Aqua type. We take the Ice Dragon and we add back a Revealer. Prior back in hand and Revealer back in hand. We're going to normal summon this Prior to try to get a Wayne back. Wayne's going to hit the board. They're going to chain Elixir and Scoop. I do want to explain the situation here because it's a bit of a weird interaction. They had Forbidden Droplet set, which needs to send a Graveyard, but any spell or trap sent from your opponent's field to the graveyard while Wayne's on the field are banished instead, so they can't pay the cost or activate the card. So here we are against the same deck, and they want to go first this time, so let's see what they do. They're going to summon Sun Mu. Apparently they're on Ancient Warriors. We're going to Ash that, and then they activate Nadir, but I think we're fine because they already normal summon this turn. They're going to set 2 pass back to us. Skullmeister on the end step takes Clear of Titaniclad, and I think we're good to go. We just got to play through the 2 back row in the Fleur, activating Medallion for a Wayne. We're going to normal summon Spirit. Oh no, well that's the end of that. So here we are against Rika. We're going first, so we're going to lead with the Shatana, and we're going to normal summon this Prior from hand. Prior is going to get attributed off by Winds for a Mirror Master. Mirror Master is going to pitch this Wayne from the hand to summon a Spirit from deck. Spirit's going to send an Attendant for next turn. Before we go into Shark, Shark into Toad, those 2 into Coral Anemone. Anemone effect to bring back Prior, Prior effect to bring back Wayne. Wayne's going to get us our Freezing Chains here, which gets us our Tuner access, so we can go into Hulk. Getting Spirit from Graveyard here, we're going to summon that down, use that in the Anemone to make Halka Fibrax, summoning Citri from deck and passing it to our opponent. Leading with a Petal and then going into Peony here, they're going to summon a Rose Girl from hand, as well as get a Search. They're going to search for the Rika spell here, and then make Halka Fibrax of their own, chaining Parallel Exceed from hand so we can't negate with Toad. Now they're going to summon Despot 001 from deck, which means we have to get rid of this thing before they do a full combo. Luckily, we can banish the 001 so they can't recur it. So we're going to send a level 5, make this level 2. Go to Quarian Gandrax, banish 3 from field or graveyard. We're going to banish these 3 so they can't extend. They activate the spell card, they add a card, but there isn't anything else they can do, so they pass it back to us. It's our go, we draw Defender for turn. Activating Winds from graveyard to get back this Wayne, and this Zoidjin targeting Quarian Gandrax is going to bring it back, which turns on Wayne. We're going to summon Wayne down. That's going to search us a Winds from deck. Winds is going to tribute 2 to summon Speaker and Revealer. Revealer is going to banish the other Revealer in graveyard to summon a deck, and if would you look at that, that's 9 levels on board. So we're going to go ahead and activate Trish to banish 3. Activate Miko here to bring back a token, normal summon this Defender, and that's all I need to see. So here we are up against Crystron. Our decks use pretty similar strategies, so let's see how they stack up. They're going to normal summon Gen X Undyne, sending Rose Nyx to graveyard, and add Gen X Controller. We're going to activate Rose Nyx to graveyard. We're going to Meister this so they can't get the Link Spider on field. They have the Wheel Dealer. They're going to go into Hulk. We're going to Ash the Hulk. And they can't actually extend past this because they have the Foolish in hand. They're going to send Thurverster. Crystron names are confusing. That's going to add them an impact. They're going to pass back to us. We're going to draw Gamma for turn. Activate Medallion. Medallion's going to search us a Wayne. We're going to summon this Spirit. And then we can summon the Wayne from hand, giving us our access to Winds. We're going to Winds for 2 to get ourselves a Revealer and a Speaker. Revealer's going to activate, sending this Zoidjin from hand to grave to summon a Spirit from deck. Spirit's going to send a Prior to grave. We're going to activate Shark. Shark's going to get us Toad, but first they're going to activate Impact to bring back this Rose Nyx and Hulk into a Shooting Riser Dragon, sending a level 3 from deck to make this level 4. We're going to Shark into Toad, but before we do that, they're going to activate this other Impact to get a Thurverster. And they're going to Shooting Riser here, which we are going to Nake, but we're locked into water, so we can't set for this turn. So we're going to add back the Spirit to hand, get this token, before making a Halka Fibrax of our own, summoning our Citri from deck. Who's playing Crystron now? Well, apparently they still are. They're going to lead off with the Psychic Wheeler. And I see 3 monsters and graveyard resources I don't want to give them, so I'm going to go ahead and Citri for Powered in Zektron before firing off Halka Fibrax to go into a Crystron Quandax. Now if you count here, that's 6, 4, and 1, which means we can make new Trish. New Trish can manage their entire field. They're now going to banish this migrate from graveyard down and impact the hand. They're going to pitch the impact of Sulfonier to summon itself. It then pops itself to summon a Thorver Shard from the deck. This is on a controller, which is a tuner. Then you go into Halka summoning a Citrate from the deck. They're then going to activate the graveyard effect at Thurver's turn to add a Praseordal to hand. Someone at Konami had a lot of fun with these names. Drawing Medallion for turn, we lead off with this copy of Wounds and Graveyards to add the Speaker back to hand. Using the Medallion to search Wayne, which will then summon itself to search a Freezing Chain to the Ice Barrier. From here we can go ahead and activate this Freezing Chains targeting the Revealing Graveyard, which we will use to pitch the Gamma and summon a Spirit from deck. We activate Spirit to send Zoidjin from deck, using the one we already had in the graveyard to target Wayne, bringing itself back, stealing some levels in the process. Making Trish, they're going to have to use their effects now if they want to do anything. Fire up their Crystron, making level 5 Crystron and Trix, and banish Hulk and Impact from graveyard and the card in hand. Trix is going to attempt to switch our monster's defense mode, but a Freezing Chains makes them immune to its effects. From here we can go to a Coral Anemone, bring back this Prio. Banishing Nico from the graveyard, bring to summon a token, and then use Prior to bring back this Wayne. From here we normal summon Grub, and I forgot to use the effect earlier this turn, so we have to go to battle and just go over their stuff, which floats. We go over that, which floats, and get in for some damage. For turn, they draw a Sulfonier and activate their turn in graveyard to add a Ryan to hand. Sulfonier already in graveyard is going to pitch the Ryan to summon itself, and then popping itself to the Citrate from deck. At this point, they have no follow-up though, and they scoop. This is what my list generally looked like at the end of my testing. Strategist is an occasional +1 that bricks more often than it's worth, so it might be worth cutting. The ratios on Zoidjin, Spirit, and Wayne can also go down by 1, depending on what you want to do with the deck. I personally found the most success with the Zatanna as the generic extender for the deck, although other options like Silent Angler and White Stingray are also viable, though they have their own downsides. Unexpected Die into Magical Scales of Libra solves a lot of the deck's problems, but it requires you to run a Garnet and several cards that are often dead draws past turn 1. Murray of Greed can also act as a budget alternate for Pot of Prosperity. The extra deck is a Synchro toolbox, though there are some staples you can put in almost any generic or semi-generic Synchro monster and find a line to get to it off of Shooting Risers and the Crystron's incredibly versatile effects. Honestly, the deck's pretty good. It's not meta or near it, mind you, but it's an accessible deck with linear combos, and it's fairly cheap. Hulk is the most expensive mandatory card of the lot. The vast majority of the main deck cards can even be taken directly from the structure. The crossover potential with Crystron's lets you reuse most of the extra deck, so if you want to try out that deck, the ice barrier to entry is a little bit lower. Anyway, ice barriers are good, and the structure deck is good for ice barriers, but kinda bad for staples, though the reprints of Dupefrog and Ronin Tonin are nice to have. The deck's reliance on the normal summon and lack of ways to reliably put a tuner on board are still its greatest weaknesses. The deck's maybe one card away from being a very strong and fun casual deck. I for one am very excited to see what future support Konami has planned for the archetype. Oh no. What's this? No. It can't be. I was told ice barriers were gonna be good now, that we moved past this kind of card. I wouldn't play this in 2009, nevertheless 2021. So it seems we won't be getting any good support in Lightning Overdrive. Well, I guess there's always next time.